And I think for them, it was very reassuring for them to know and understand that as faculty, we understand, we're working tirelessly, we're working hard, just like all the faculty that are part of here.
You know, we don't do a lot of online classes, a lot of hybrid classes, but I think we're going to have to get caught up.
I really think that we could move a lot of our didactic courses online and make it more hybrid, like a lot of programs are moving that way anyway.
I just think it's time to look at what our requirements for licensure should look like for our profession. And currently they don't look like they could. And what we currently have is not demonstrating what hygienists can do and what they are meant to do.
Get ready for your unofficial dental hygiene podcast. These are the tales of two hygienists, one East Coast RDH and one West Coast hygienist. Listen as they tackle the profession of dental hygiene with humor and enthusiasm. Now, please join Michelle Strange and Andrew Johnston as they tell you a tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists. This is your student-focused roundtable for the month, brought to you in part by Q Optics and Elevate Oral Care. I just wanted to give a quick plug for Q Optics. Yes, they are sponsoring the show, but I also want to let you know how easy it was to work with them. We met with them in Chicago at one of the big conferences called Chicago Midwinter. And right there on the exhibit hall floor, they walked me through all of the necessary steps to be able to get really dialed in. Now, I've always been skeptical, and my experience with Q Optics really changed my point of view on loupes. So if you're thinking about it and you have the ability in the program that you're in to have Q Optics come in, make sure you guys reach out. You won't be sorry.
And I very much enjoy Elevate Oral Care because they have one of the products that I use pretty frequently, and that's silverdiamine fluoride. And if you're just now hearing about silverdiamine fluoride or you wanted to know more about it, you can actually go to their website and check out some of their webinars and information. They also have a ton of information on motivational interviewing, and you and I talk about that quite a lot on this podcast. I'm a huge fan. I've been practicing motivation, and it is a true practice. I've been practicing motivational interviewing for a while. So you can head over to their website, elevateoralcare.com, and learn more about them. But let's get into the Student Focus Roundtable. So at the beginning of the Student Focus series, this was your brainchild last year in 2019. Isn't that the year? Gosh, they're flying by.
It's the beginning of 2019. We're like, look, the students need a little bit more direction. We really value that. Like, we're so impressed you guys are even listening to this. Let's be honest.
So true. Yes.
So let's give them something. They're taking the time to listen to us. Let's give them something that they actually could use.
And you came up with the idea of a roundtable, and we brought on different people that would talk about one particular topic. And then I kind of hijacked it for 2020 and made it a little more researchy because that's what I do. But I hope that you guys find it helpful because what we're aiming to do is bring on people who understand the topic and let them explain to you how they're looking at research and applying it clinically. Because what happens is we graduate with the knowledge we graduate with, and it might be a little I don't want to say up to date. It might not be as up to date because they had to get you graduated, right? But there's stuff on like HPV that, it's ever changing. And so we got to stay on top of that. And so we're going to bring the experts on so that we can teach you how to read the research and apply it to your patient care. So you can always be doing that up-to-date evidence-based clinical practice that we talk about so much. And we hope you enjoyed this student-focused episode.
Hey, Michelle.
Yeah.
It's time for the interview.
Oh, but I had something else to say.
We need to let the experts talk now.
Fine.
So everyone, we're really excited to have kind of a rock star faculty group on the podcast today. We've definitely had series planned, but we are pivoting because we know that this is these are, I don't think you would want to hear the things that I had planned. It's not relevant right now. So what we're going to do is kind of chit chat a little bit about the students and faculty and how we're learning right now, what has changed and what might change in the future. I know that's all kind of speculation at this point, but maybe some fun ideas that we could continue after this whole COVID quarantine thing. So I just want to welcome all of my guests, and I'm going to start with Jessica. Welcome.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm very happy to be here with these rock star dental educators. So excited to be here. My name is Jessica Atkinson. I currently work as an assistant professor at Dixie State University in St. George, Utah. I have worked at Utah Valley University and also at the Utah College of Dental Hygiene, both in didactic and clinical teaching. I also am the COO at Hygiene Edge, where we are passionate about the education of dental hygienists in any part of their professional career.
Yeah, you guys do a wonderful job. I use your videos quite often. Yes. Erika, welcome.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you for having me. My name's Erika Spring. I'm currently a faculty member at Coastal Carolina Community College in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And I started my educational career out in Laramie County Community College as a part-time clinical instructor, and I'm now full-time faculty at Coastal. So this is about my 7th year there. I had split time, but I'm excited to be here.
Welcome. And Jasmin, welcome.
Hey, I'm Jasmin Haley. I am a full-time educator at Wake Technical Community College. Prior to my time there, I was an educational consultant with the School of Medicine, where I worked in an interprofessional education faculty group that was focused on teaching the future of healthcare professions on HIV. I've also worked as an adjunct faculty at Howard Community College, and I was a full-time faculty at another community college as well. I've been in academia for about 8 years. I host many hats, and I am also the CEO of Beyond the Prophy. So I spend a lot of time empowering dental hygienists and now just professional women and helping them to pursue their passion through entrepreneurship.
That's amazing. And Sheba, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. So I am an adjunct faculty in Mesa, Arizona at Mesa Community College. It's a dental hygiene program. So I teach a didactic course and clinically. And I also have a connecting role at Dignity Health Hospital in Chandler, Arizona, which I think you might be familiar with. So I work as an affiliated practice dental hygienist in various roles. And I also supervise students in an ICU hospital rotation there as well.
I would love to know more about that. Okay. So I would love to know what is going on in your schools right now. Like, what does this look like? Where were you in your year? Because I know all of our schools are a little different. Like, what classes were you teaching? Like, what level of clinic were you at? And like, how has that all changed at this point? You can just raise your hand.
I'll
go.
start.
Okay.
We'll all start.
That's okay. Erika, you can go. What you got?
I'm so glad somebody's going to edit this. No.
This is why Andrew was like, I'm not coming on. There's way too many of you.
At Coastal Carolina, we actually run first and second year hygiene. So my freshman students literally had about 2 weeks of clinic with real patients. And we are at just a hiatus. So they are just super nervous about losing everything that they had. They were just kind of getting, into everything, and we had to stop. And our second year students really have almost finished all of their clinical requirements. So it's really just hours that they're trying to finish at this point. So they're at a really good spot. But we're probably missing about 19 clinic sessions with each class. So we're so close. And we're doing everything didactically online through Blackboard, Collaborate, Zoom, as much as we can do, didactically, we're doing it.
Man. Jessica, you were second on that hand raise.
Same. It sounds like a similar situation as Erika is in. We were getting ready to graduate our seniors within 5 weeks, and we were on spring break when everything really got serious. And our plan was to come back, hit the ground running, spring break, and get as much done as we could. And we didn't get to come back. So we moved everything didactic online. I'm currently teaching junior students pain control. and dental materials. So we're still moving forward didactically while we will do the clinical hands-on when they get back to school, when that is. We're hoping sooner than later. So using Canvas, using Zoom, using Loom, using PowerPoint voiceover, using anything and everything that would upload. It's just been an adventure. And a lot of students have a lot of uncertainty. So it's also managing that uncertainty and providing some hope that dental hygiene is not going away.
Despite what some of the doctors were saying. Had me in flames yesterday on dental hacks. Anywho, yes, Jasmin.
We're pretty much in the same boat. I don't know if you all, because in one previous school, we pretty much got January off, but then this current school that I'm in, we actually start little after New Year's. So we have altogether, I think it's 88 hours or something like that, or a little bit more, give and take. I don't know if that includes the first year because I'm only in second year clinic. And I teach public health, and I actually just last week pharmacology because one of our faculty members was very badly injured in a car accident. So I think, the concerning factor is we have no idea when we're going to come back. And there's a potential of the summer, we're not coming back in the summer. And then we have to take on a new class in addition to the previous second year students that haven't completed and the first year students. So our priority obviously are the second year students right now in spring 2020. And it's really navigating the what ifs. So it's like, do we front load and do all of the fall classes that we can didactically during the summer so that when we come back in the fall, we could be Monday through Friday, morning and evening, all clinic. I mean, these are the kind of things that the faculty are concerned with. And I think the last lecture that I had, and the students were like, please tell us, what do you think? They're all they're very frustrated. They're overwhelmed. They're uncertain of what's going to happen. All they want to do is graduate. A lot of them do not have the financial means to continue on another semester without working. And I think for them, it was very reassuring for them to know and understand that as faculty, we understand we're working tirelessly, we're working hard, just like all the faculty that are part of here. We want them to succeed. One of the things that we did, one of our faculty recommended that we create a video for them. And so we did, all of the faculty sharing positive words of affirmation so that it can help them during this time. And so we just want all the students to know that your faculty cares for you. We want you to succeed, and we're all working tirelessly to try to figure out what to do next. But our hands are tied also.
So true.
We don't know.
We don't know. And Sheba, what's going on with you?
So we are in the same boat as well. When everything happened, we were on our spring break. And so we were receiving guidance from our Department of Public Health, our governor, based on all the CDC recommendations. So we have first and second year students. I work in the first year clinic. I teach head and neck anatomy didactically. And I work with the second year students in their interprofessional service learning at the hospital. So obviously the first thing that was taken off of the plate was the ICU rotation because they were just overwhelmed and inundated, which I think we were all okay with. But interestingly, just a little side note is I've been contacted, myself and the other hygienists who work in the oral health department, the public health hygienists, we've been contacted by the hospital a few times to come in and help, actually, the medical staff to help screen patients and things of that sort. But our students, like Jasmin said, are very frustrated. They're overwhelmed. In our program, we have a big focus on mindfulness. So we've been trying to focus on that to kind of reduce stress and get everybody through this time. And we've also been letting them know that we are working hard, trying to figure out what we're going to do. We share our clinic with a dental school. And so the dental school is in the same predicament. So we're trying to figure out where we're going to put students at. If we're going to have 2 first-year classes in the fall, I'm not sure if we'll be able to come back this summer, but we're trying to keep positivity, positive mindset. So, yeah.
I think Jasmin said this and it triggered thought that, because I remember being a student in my clinic and I saw a patient that was a nurse anesthetist student. And he was trying to explain to me that at the time, 15 years ago, they would all do their didactics first. You just crushed your didactics and then you went full into treating patients and like clinical hands-on stuff. Do you think we'll have anything like that? Do you think we'll get to a point like where we crush these didactics and then, like you said, when you come back in the fall semester, you're just going to like see patients all day, every day?
I think it's an option.
Possibly.
The block schedule is an option. I do know some hygiene programs do a block schedule as far as the didactic courses themselves, and they can bust them out in a shorter week period than an entire semester. I have never worked in a program like that, so I'm not familiar with all of the logistics of that, but it's definitely an option depending on what our availability to the clinic is.
Yeah, sorry, Erika.
Coastal actually has a 5-week summer semester, and we figured with our hours, the way that our semesters are built, we could plug in our makeup time into those 5 weeks if we can put all of our didactic courses online. So our students I teach 140, which is the local anesthesia course, prep, and then nutrition. If we put those online, we can basically go Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, which, is going to be 7 to 6, and just bust everything out at least 3 of those days, because my students also have to make up radiology. Our course, actually, they don't have radiology the first year. So we have to figure in those hours as well. But we're hoping for some leniency. Coastal, we don't do a lot of online classes, a lot of hybrid classes, but I think we're going to have to get caught up. But we actually rotate through the military bases here at Camp Lejeune, and those clinics are definitely shut down right now. So, and we don't know when those are going to be available. So now we have more students than we have units, and that's also challenging without those clinical sites.
I definitely think there's going to be a paradigm shift, and faculty are going to be forced to think about providing education in a different way. I have been in programs where I've asked several times, is there any way we can make this course an online version? Because to me, I just feel like some of the time that we were spending was just like, oh my gosh, is this really necessary, right? Is it necessary? We've got so many other things we could be doing right now. I've only found and only have heard of one program where they actually had it flipped, completely flipped. So they're probably at an advantage right now more than any other program that's out there in the U.S. And I think that this is also showing to many faculty, although they've been hesitant, and because they also don't want to, I think a lot of it comes from not wanting to answer and do that additional paperwork that's necessary for CODA, for an online educational program. So I just feel that this is helping us to see that we have to get more comfortable. We have to find ways to get more skillful in educating our students. And unfortunately, we're in a situation where we're forced. We're forced to do it now. And I have found that the students are more engaged. They're able to understand more. We're recording our lectures so they can go back to hearing it. We are so used to that mono educational method of lecture. I mean, it is that insane that we're still only focused on that. So in part, even though this is such a horrible time that we're in right now, I'm actually just happy. Happy that now we're online. Like, yes, finally get a little bit of a taste of it. See how great it is. How wonderful it is to have your test online where it's graded for you because you've plugged it all in beforehand. You don't have to use paper. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So, that's my soapbox right there.
Well, we're about to see,
I love online education.
Like you keep seeing that meme. It's like, we're about to see how many meetings could have really been an email. And I think we're about to see how many in-person courses could have really been an online course. So it's definitely going to be flipped.
Yeah, we could do more community things. We could do more just look at what Sheba's doing. She's in an ICU
amazing.
in a hospital. Like, come on, like the energy that we're putting for some of these classes that could be online, and we could be using our time for more inspirational.
I was going to say, I don't know that word.
You're getting there, Jasmine.
Sorry. I did have a mimosa.
Oh, yes, it is. We should have done that together.
Learning experiences. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. We got it.
But we could have the time to do things. So many faculty say, I don't have time. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. And this could create our time for us. You know, once we do all of the hours to put it online, because it is a lot to put it online. I'm not going to discredit that.
And I think the challenge that we're being forced into the situation is it is taxing the system to get online. For me, I don't have a problem recording myself. What I have a problem with is getting that recording to upload the way that I want it to. But I really love the idea of putting what can be put online, because the learning happens in active learning. And our profession is inextricably linked to putting what we know or what we read or what we heard into action. That's what happens in clinic. That's what happens in discussions. And that's what happens when we're together. So I am hoping this creates a shift where we know what can be put online, so we make our class time more valuable. And those students are actually putting what they read, what they heard, what they learned into an activity for that retention.
Sheba, did you have anything to chime in on?
Yes, I agree. I think that this is definitely going to change everything, not just our dental hygiene program, but the way we practice, everything. And I think, yes, we could invest more time into experiences, hands-on learning, if we have less time in the lecture. And just look at our new generation of younger professionals up and coming. They're more technologically advanced and involved that way anyway. So I think my students have had no problem switching over to online. They are all in tune and step with everything. I've even learned a few things from them. And it works well. Thankfully, our program already had Canvas that we were interfacing with. So a lot of us were familiar with that already. So we just kind of stepped it up. Our school provided us training on anything that we needed help with, how to cast lectures and screencast lectures and record audio and how to do WebEx. And so it was extremely helpful, the timing of it during those weeks we had off, that we all got caught up to speed when it was time to come back. So, I totally agree. I think that the real value in our profession is having those experiences with people, So I really think that we could move a lot of our didactic courses online and make it more hybrid, like a lot of programs are moving that way anyway.
So I would love to move into like what this was going to look like. And we just saw a call to action with our boards, and I would love to have that discussion. But I would love to also just put out really quickly, and then I'll shut up and let you guys talk, because I feel like a lot of I hope that this is the needle shift or the needle movement in our profession, where we start looking at dental hygiene not as scalar to a tooth. And that's what defines us, that we don't have to be defined by a clinical board, where I thought was always super antiquated. You've probably heard me argue with Andrew about this on the podcast. And I will even say, like, from the moment I started this podcast to where I am now, my mindset has shifted as to what creates a hygienist. And I would love to see these courses and the inability to actually put a scalar to the tooth be the shift that we need to move more towards critical thinking. And like, how do you actually create health? And scalar to tooth does not create health in patients. I mean, it definitely helps. It's going to remove the irritant, but it's not what creates health. And that there are so many types of hygienists out there, and just the person who might not have the tactile sensitivity to be the best scaler does not mean they won't be the best hygienist, because hygienist, I think, is not just scaler to tooth. So that's just kind of where my mindset is. And I want to see something come from this that is defining hygienist as not just scaler to tooth, that we are critical thinkers, we are health creators, we're preventionists, we're all these things. And it's not just clinical boards that define us and give us our license. So, Jessica, I'd love to start with why you wrote your blog. It just came out today. This will actually be the first episode in May. So just in a few weeks. So if you haven't, go ahead and go to hygieneedge.com, I would assume, and go to the blog and you can read it there. But what kind of started or, kind of kicked you into gear to write that blog?
I think the kick was the misunderstanding of what the call to action meant. I had it sent off to whoever needed to read it before I even got messages showing up on my news feed. And then as those messages started showing up, I was like, whoa, we're not asking hygienists to be less qualified. That is not what we are asking here. What we are asking is for an antiquated test to be removed as a barrier to licensure. And which then I started talking to some of the Board of Trustees members of UDHA in my state, the Utah Dental Hygiene Association. And one of my colleagues, Chancey, said, well, I just feel like maybe CODA needs to change their requirements. And I was curious about that. This is the very first year that I've been intimately involved in a self-study and what that looks like. And what I came to understand is all of the hygiene programs I have been involved in and those of my colleagues go above and beyond what CODA requires to be entry-level hygienist. And I was just asking, what would you like to see changed? And we discovered this dialogue and uncovered a lot of things that do need to be addressed. And I'm not saying that there aren't better ways to show our competency and to make sure programs are doing what they need to do in order to provide the public with the kind of hygienist that is really concerned for their health and well-being. What I am saying is our current process does not do that for us. It does not guarantee that that hygienist is or isn't what the test says they are. So we're talking about getting rid of one quad, 10 sites or 12 sites of, oh, look, I'm now a hygienist because I showed up that day. My patient was the perfect patient, and hooray. What was hard for me as an educator is watching students who have the heart of hygiene. And what I mean by that is all the things that you listed, work hard and improve, and then get a patient that's not ideal and have their dreams dashed in one day, crushed in one day. And I will be honest with you, there are some hygienists that are practicing now that I was like, oh, I hope they do well on the test. And there are some that I was like, they're going to nail it. And they failed.
Yeah. Samesies.
I just think it's time to look at what our requirements for licensure should look like for our profession. And currently they don't look like they could. And what we currently have is not demonstrating what hygienists can do and what they are meant to do. I'm not a technician. I don't just scale teeth. And I think we need to have that paradigm shift. We need to have hygienists that go enter the workforce and say, I am more than this. I cannot do what I am meant to do in 20 minutes. This is not what I am. And ask for something different.
Anybody else have a different perspective on this whole, like, get rid of the boards? I'm just curious. Yes, Erika.
I think you guys bring up multiple things, and my list kind of goes from it is certainly a paradigm shift. And I absolutely agree with everything that Jessica is saying, is that putting our, future of these hygienists in one clinical board is really not the way to go. And I feel like if we could invest the time and the money and the effort that we spend on preparing these girls for boards, if we turn that energy around, I've always been an advocate for advanced practice. I would love to go an additional 2 years and be an advanced practice hygienist. There's been talk for years about an entry-level hygienist at 2 years versus an entry-level hygienist at 4 years with a bachelor's degree. And I think the things that you brought up was, Jasmin talked about the national licensure. You brought up the critical thinking skills. I mean, I can teach anybody to scale, and that's kind of a, lucrative term, but what to me makes a hygienist, and this is where when I coach offices and I coach teams, some of those hygienists are just in there scaling and they don't care about the treatment planning. They don't care about the whole picture, the medical integration. So I really see this as an opportunity for us as educators to look at this whole paradigm shift with advanced practice, national licensure, bringing that critical thinking component in there to potentially have a different level of hygienist that we can integrate into a medical type situation. And one of the things that my students caught on in just the, social media was all of these other, well, not all, but some of the states that were calling for action from hygienists because they were desperate for help. And, I feel like we can do that. We should be able to be diabetic educators. And we're not, and North Carolina is the last straw of, we can't even provide local anesthesia, which, Jasmin, that's a whole other conversation. And I've been licensed in 3 other states where, that I've been able to do local anesthesia. So when I teach local anesthesia, I'm looking at ways to, I know this is coming. And I've been more active with NCDHA, and I'm considering going, Lord help me, into the state level at things. And because I feel like, right. But I mean, like, that's why I went into coaching and consulting. And I left that out of my intro as I founded my business, with coaching and consulting and speaking. But I'm like, I got frustrated clinically before I went into education with all these hygienists just not doing what we're supposed to do. And I think it's a real opportunity to have some huge shift. And I know it's going to take time, like hopefully before I retire. But at this point, I think, the sky is the limit if we have, educators like us and, people who support our profession. But we've got to figure out a way to do it collectively.
Mm-hmm. Sheba, did you have any thoughts?
So I was just going to say I feel very fortunate to be in my state because there are a lot of leeway or advances that we've had in our profession. Our association is awesome. They work very hard with the legislature to kind of lift restrictions in our public health roles. We, in the roles I practice in the hospital, we do teledentistry, which the students also come in and have that experience. They're there in the hospitals in the neurology department, the ICU. So these are great experiences. However, they're just experiences. They're not utilized in a, kind of grading capacity like they are for their didactic courses. But I kind of see a slow shift moving that way. And I would love to see more of the value, like Jessica said, placed on different kinds of roles. Why not make this across the board, across the country, a bachelor's level, entry level program and provide more emphasis on these hospital roles or community roles and things of that sort. So I'm all for it. I am on board with it. Yes.
Is there anyone on here that thinks that hygiene should just stay as an associate's? Yeah, so that was a no for our audio listener.
What frustrates me is we are not an associates. What I mean by that is even associate programs are above and beyond any other associate program with the requirements that necessitate to become a dental hygienist. An entry-level dental hygienist is not a technician. They can do diabetes education. They can recognize all kinds of things that impact the whole being health. I just get real fiery about the barriers that are placed, that we have historically placed on ourselves. And I just really hope that this is an opportunity for people with differing views I'm not saying I want all of the college programs to go away. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, can we collaborate with other four-year universities to provide them for a bachelor's completion, to still say, hey, you will be licensed when you get a bachelor's. This is part of your education. I'm not advocating for anyone to lose their jobs, but what I'm advocating for is for the recognition for what we already are. What we already are.
I think Sheba had hers.
So our program is a 2-year program, but when the students graduate, I think they're only 12 credits shy or something like that of their bachelor's degree. So this year we have rolled out a concurrent enrollment with our 4-year university up in northern Arizona. So students can also be taking those courses while they're taking our courses and then come out with their bachelor's degree when it's all said and done. So I like that idea as well. And our university is also, our bill passed in May of 2018 for dental therapists. So we're trying to find a way to connect that as well with the program. So I do feel like we function as a 4-year program, well above and beyond what we need to be doing, what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Jazz?
I want to backtrack to the question that you gave about like the thoughts about Jessica's article. When we open up this conversation, it's going to lead us down this rabbit hole. Because we've already pivoted to, associates versus bachelors, right? There's so many things wrong with our educational system, not by our own fault, but just it's so antiquated that I want to use the expression that you often hear, just throw it all away and let's start from scratch, right? Because the entire profession is not unified. Now, Erika and I are in North Carolina, and these beautiful women, Jessica and Sheba, are all the way on the West Coast, okay? Now, it's fabulous. Once you guys don't have the clinical examination, you can go about your merry way and you're like, but we, on the other hand, on the East Coast, we don't got nothing, right? These particular states in the South, we have zero, not even direct access to our patients. So, yes, if I had to choose and if I had to vote for and say, hey, should we get rid of the clinical examination? I will only say yes, because I feel like it is a step towards getting us more unified. It's easier for us to change and move around for our licenses. But there's a problem that still exists. Our curriculum, people are not on the same page. And unfortunately, not every single program is like what Jessica has experienced, where everyone is top level. They're getting by. They're doing what they can to get the CODA accreditation. And the students are suffering because of that. And so we also have to look at the whole global picture, is that, yes, this is one step towards getting us more universal, but the entire education, every single state is different. Now, do I think it's overkill for some? Yes, because in our particular program, we have mock boards.
Me too. Mm-hmm.
From this. I mean, so this is like the second, they have a test patient that they have to do. That's sort of like the boards, right? They have to have the certain, like the similar criteria for boards. They get tested on that. They have to pass it. If they don't pass it, they have to find another patient. So they're getting more than enough experience to adequately pass the boards if necessary. But there's so many other components here that I just feel like we're, No,
and you're right to bring that.
We're not thinking about what's next.
Because
there's so many.
You're right. And I think this is also Andrew's argument, and where we have, disagreed a lot is because there are people who do CODA to get by, and they don't actually do all the things that they say they're going to do. There's not a lot of calibration between faculty members, especially adjunct faculty members that are just coming in for a semester, or maybe they had, 5 students to one faculty member. Let's say maybe they drop down, so they let one faculty member go, but then the next class, they can't get them back, and there's just a lot of, there's a lot of differences between each of these. I really think that it should be a part of a dental school. I really would love to see dentists and hygienists actually treating patients and assistants all working as a team, so that we actually have some respect for what the other person actually knows and does. And as much as I don't, again, want, like you said, you don't want anybody to lose their job in a community college. At the same time, I feel like that was the worst thing that happened to our profession, is when everything got separated, when dentists went to their 4-year and went into their, graduate program, and we went to community college. And I'm not teaching right now because I had my own difficulties going back, because I didn't, I wanted to bring things up just a little bit more, and they were just kind of getting into the rotation of CODA. So when we look at CODA, what's the calibration? What's the standard? How could we make sure people are following through? Like, what happens in the process where, Jessica and Sheba have amazing programs, and then some of us out here, not just on the East Coast, but you got some Midwest programs. I even hear of it in Wisconsin, where everyone's all over the place. Like, how do you make that better? Is it less than 7 years between accreditation? Like, what is it?
I don't think that's the case, because it's like they're checking paperwork. I mean, how can you really tell? I just feel like it all depends on the caliber of person that is being hired.
What if,
and even then it's a shortage of faculty
as faculty members?
Well, no, Michelle.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the problem,
Malia,
I know for our community
at Hygiene Edge, because she's this kind of person that Jasmine's explaining, she just decided to take credits. She'd already taken REB. She already had her life. She's like, I kind of want to see what it's like. And so just because that's the kind of person she is, she took credits and she did well. But she also said, I took credits with a bunch of people who've been practicing for years that needed a different licensure, and they failed. We're still talking about just once. I want to see how you do this one day. I'm looking from my personal experience, I am now in a program that is investing in me. I am still learning. I am still getting better. I am still looking for ways to improve. And not every program has the ability to, or shows the ability to invest in their faculty. And as far as where's the magic wand to make this all equitable, I don't know where it is, but what are the decisions? What are actionable things now? And I really feel like something actionable now is saying, we're going to get rid of our clinical board. That has to make programs go. It has to make programs go. We need to make sure then that we are the gatekeepers of licensure. We need to make sure that what we are providing is good. And maybe that's like CODA shows up once in a while. I don't know, like some secret police. I don't know, guys.
They're the patient in the chair. They're the secret shopper of dental hygiene programs. Erika, you have something?
I want to throw this down another rabbit hole. And again, I was a community college graduate. I actually graduated from Coastal. 10 years later, I finished my degree through an online degree completion program at NAU. So Sheba, I don't know if that's who you're associated with. And I went back for my master's at NAU. And I had such a fabulous experience, even though it was all online. So, it was a real easy transition for me to start all of I run my courses almost like a hybrid anyway. So, but that was a sideline. Shout out to Arizona. But I did a lot of my undergrad and master's work based out of Arizona. And it was incredible to see what the difference was between states, and of course being licensed out in Wyoming and stuff. But I struggle with, like Jessica says, CODA is one part of that, but I struggle with administration, because right now attendance is low, funding is low. North Carolina suffered dramatically from Hurricane Florence, and this class of 2020, they are just like, if we can please get them graduated, so I'm like, my heart breaks for them. And so I am totally okay with being the gatekeeper. Like, I am okay. And I'll probably get myself in trouble with that, because for the administration to say, well, you have to do everything you can to keep these students. Well, that's great. But pretty soon in that first year of hygiene, you can tell clinically who has it and who doesn't with the dexterity. And I'm like, I want them to sit in that chair. You sit down and you let that student work on you. And that is my struggle with the education. Like, if they would just let us do what we need to do. And I feel like that's another, again, rabbit hole.
Yeah. And I think, and I've heard that too, where you can't let certain students go because then they'll go to the administration and complain or sue. And so then you got to take them in. And yeah, you're right. That's a whole other arm of this that is an issue.
There are a lot of issues and a lot of rabbit holes here. So where do we start? And I feel like this ADHA action was a start. And I would like to get to the point that we share. I've heard of programs that are really stingy about sharing what they teach the students and don't share what we do. And I'm like, why? Yes. You got a good thing going. Help me out. This is the first time I've taught anatomy. Give me a break. Right. I would like to see some more connection and cohesion and those actionable steps are take a step. What we're doing right now, having people meet from across the country saying, what can we do together? Mm-hmm. Even if we have differing opinions. That is why I'm such an advocate to be a member of your professional organization. And you can do it, Erika. You can do it. You can be on the state. You can do it.
Lord, I'm going to recruit Jasmin on the state level because.
Well, the thing is but here's the thing. As I watch you guys go, is because it's hard. It's hard to get feedback from people who aren't doing it. It's hard to be the man in the arena. It's really hard to be the man in the arena. And
come on, bring.
I was going to say, what's her thing?
Yes,
you can't take shots from the cheap seats. What's it? Something like that.
Let's ask Brene Brown if she wants to make a professional change and become a dental hygienist, and then we'll be.
Y'all, I invited her on the podcast. She declined, but I did invite her.
I just think that it's a lot of rabbit holes that we do have to navigate. We also have to start making steps so they don't stay rabbit holes.
Yeah. Why not a promotion to share our, what works for one program, share some of this information with other programs. We're fortunate enough. Phoenix metropolitan area is a very large area. So we have about 12 community colleges under the umbrella of one district. And 3 of those colleges have dental hygiene programs. So we get to meet with the other hygiene programs often and kind of bounce ideas off of each other. And so we are sharing a lot. One of our programs under this umbrella does work like a hybrid program. They're Rio Salado College, and they are an 18-month program. They do all of their didactic online. I think they come in maybe once every month or something like that, and then they have certain times that they do clinical. So they might be the example that we follow with our other hygiene programs moving forward now. So
I'm about to move to Arizona.
I was just thinking that, dang.
There's enough room for everyone.
I live real close to Arizona.
This sounds pretty great.
Why don't we start our private dental hygiene school? I think that's a great idea.
Yes. I have a question for you that actually we got probably a year ago from a listener. And surprisingly, at least I'm surprised, we have a lot of pre-dental hygiene students listening to this podcast. So we get people reaching out to us all the time. They're like, I'm a hairdresser. I want to make a change. I found this dental hygiene podcast that I'd see what this was about, which I think is great because I feel like there's going to be less burnout when you know what you're getting into versus going, I didn't know I was going to have to deal with all this stuff. I'm like, oh, honey, yeah. Well, you were 18 when you made that decision, so I can imagine. But these babies. So if I had someone that sent me this email again and I could be like, go listen to this episode, what should they look for when they are looking for a dental hygiene program? What would your standard, you're a hygiene student, what are your standards to get into a program or that you're going to choose this program?
Well, that's kind of a hard question to answer. The first thing is you want to make sure it's accredited.
Step 1.
More than anything, right? But there's no telling really how they can differentiate that, between one another. Other than, a lot of times we just talked about a little bit earlier about associates versus bachelor's program. Now, listen, I am a community college grad. I had an excellent.
Are all of us? I'm a community college grad. Yeah.
I had an excellent education. I can scale anybody to the ground, okay? But did I, as soon as I finished, go on to do my baccalaureate degree? Did they help elevate my thinking in a higher level than I had in my associate's degree program? Absolutely. Do I believe in getting higher degrees? Absolutely. That's why I went and got my master's degree. I'm going to eventually go get my doctorate. I think that's all very important to our higher level thinking as professionals. But so I would suggest, if anything, and this is not to put associate's degree and bachelor's degree against each other, that if you have aspirations of doing more, if you know that you want to have a certain type of impact that's beyond clinical, then maybe perhaps you should start off with your baccalaureate degree. Otherwise, I feel like every single program initially, they're not really going to have an inkling of what kind of impact they want to make. Does that make sense to y'all?
They wouldn't know if this anesthesia class and this taught at this level was better. Yeah.
It's the baseline. It's like I applied to wherever the school was in my state. Now, if I knew about programs like Sheba's that includes mindfulness in every single curriculum course, anatomy with mindfulness, like what? Like they have mindfulness in every single course. And if I was being intentional and looking for that, I would, opt for something like that. But I just feel like they're all baseline foundational learning that you're going to get.
Erika?
And I'd like to see a bachelor's program have a next tier to the clinical side. In other words, teach that advanced instrumentation, teach airflow. We are cramming so much into these 2 years. And I mean, my students love airflow. And now I'm like crying because my airflow Prophy master units are sitting there and we can't even use them yet. I know it. But I mean, really, the advanced instrumentation, I always tell them, it takes you 5 years after you graduate to really understand and see enough clinical results, from true perio. But as an entry-level hygienist, I don't see anything wrong with early perio, prophys, kids, great. But almost to have that second tier, like a PA or advanced practice, really a periodontal focused program where they can, or class where they can partner with even a dental school or another clinical rotation for those advanced instrumentation courses.
Mm-hmm.
I'll share a little bit about my experience. So I was a dental assistant for years. I started off pulling paper charts as my after school job for the next day patients. And what I saw as a dental hygienist is they have a sweet A job that they go to 8 to 5 and they get paid really good. And I wanted to be a mom and I'm like, this would be the perfect job. At the core of all of that stuff is I wanted to help people. And I wanted what I did to matter. And I found something that what I wanted to do mattered. And it was flexible and I could be a mom and I had this vision of what my life was going to look. And I had this idea of what a dental hygienist was that was modeled to me. And what was modeled to me, some was modeled that it was more than just a tooth scaler, but some of it was just like I get to talk to patients about their last vacation and then I see them in 6 months. Now I'm single. And I am so grateful that dental hygiene was way more than I thought it was. And I made the decision to go to a private school, a for-profit, and that's a whole other rabbit hole, a for-profit college where I got an excellent education, where I was taught and mentored and led to where I am today. And I mean, at that time, I had no idea that for-profit was a bad word. I had no idea. As a coming in, I just want to be a dental hygienist. I made the decision because it was either get into this school starting in fall or wait another year and see if you can get into another school. And I was like, well, I better start now because I'm going to make up that money when I get a job and make it a lot of, like, I just had a very different view of what hygiene was when I started than when I ended. And I am so grateful that where I ended is not where I started, and that I am more than just seeing somebody every 6 months and asking about their vacation. And I think whatever path you decide to choose, as whatever school, have a bigger view. Look at what the graduates from those programs are doing. Look at what is fueling them. Look at where they were inspired. And I was a District 10 student delegate, and it changed my life. I can tell you it changed my life because I got to go to a national meeting where I saw hygienists that were in hospitals. What? I saw hygienists that were working in nursing homes. Are you kidding me? Like, I saw hygienists doing what hygienists can do, which is much more than just picking calculus off of teeth. And that's not even what we do. We are managing disease processes. We are so much more than we are giving ourselves credit for. And it is not encapsulated in one clinical exam, but it's encapsulated over a lifetime of learning. And so what I'm asking prospective hygienists to think about is, are you committed to a lifetime of learning? Are you committed to changing and adapting and making an impact in individuals' lives? Is that what you're committed to do? And it won't steer you wrong.
And not only
Absolutely.
are you committed.
Can I get amen?
Amen.
Preach, sister, okay?
And not only are you committed to that as a student, but are your faculty committed to you, vice versa.
And that's what I want to tell students right now that are really struggling, is your faculty's committed to you. I get emails from our program director at 1:00 in the morning. And I'm like, what are you doing at 1:00 in the morning? I'm just looking at some other options. I'm just looking at the CODA site one more time. I'm just looking at the CDC site one more time. We are invested in what you can become. And that's what's powerful is when you feel that you're supported and encouraged. I just got a message today, a 20-minute message that one of my classes did. I just started at Dixie State the beginning of last summer. And so I was affiliated with other schools before that. And I just got a thank you of all 60 of them expressing gratitude for the impact that their educators had on their experience. And that's what's powerful.
Oh,
I know, right, Michelle?
Pull
so
on
many.
your heartstring. Oh my Lord. Well, and I would also say, like, I love that message, but I would also add that it's not going to always be easy.
It's not.
Like, we're fighting against a profession that is outdated, and a profession built on a disease model and on a prevention model, even though we love to say that we're preventionists, like we have, and we're under the thumb of a lot of dentists and state boards that are not all at the same level, unfortunately. So I think if I was a pre-dental hygiene student seeing your practice versus what I saw in South Carolina, I think that perspective would be very different. Like Jasmin said, sometimes on the East Coast, we're not all up to date on some of those things. But I hope that if they're listening to a hygiene podcast before they're even students, that they are going to be super mindful about some of the things before they choose a school, at least. So,
but I really love what Jessica said. I mean, it really is all about your mindset, how you're coming in. And regardless of the program that you're in, what was a blessing for many of us here, we've all had amazing faculty. So we're leaders in our profession because of our mentors prior to. So really, your educators mean everything. They're the start of everything for you in your career. Many of my educators were telling me about my strengths before I even knew they existed. They were able to see those things, So I feel like regardless of whatever program they come in, having that mindset of the sky's the limit, really.
True.
I mean, as Jessica was saying, having that in there can make any type of impact that they decide to make, whatever choices or whatever goals that they may have. Just utilize it.
And one of the things that I see with this particular generation of students is that their natural ability to cope with life, stress, home, let alone what we're doing right now, is we're not just teaching. We are life coaches. We're behavioral coaches. I implemented, and Jasmin knows this because we've talked about it. I went through DISC training, DISC certification. And although I can't administer them a full test, we do a lot of team building exercises. We do a lot of growth mindset, that I've incorporated into my classes. And they think I'm crazy because I do all sorts of crazy stuff and fun stuff, and we role play, and they're like, oh my God, here she goes again. But, at the end, and one of the reasons I love freshmen, I'm like the freshman coordinator. So I have them their whole first year, and I'm still in second year clinic, but I didactically, I'm not with them second year until professional development. And I love the fact that, and I tell my students this all the time, I love the fact that I get to start them off in dental boot camp, so to speak. And it's like, look, this way or the highway, we got to get going. We got to, set the discipline, the mindset. And then we kind of watch them grow, and they go through these hills and valleys of growth. And I get them back in professional development, and I get to finish them off. And, we go over interviewing skills. And, it's just been such a tremendous empowerment for me personally to see them walk across the stage and see them grow, because who they are, that freshman clinic, they're like scooting by my office, trying not for me to, see them or be like, you're missing this or you're late. And which I'm getting a lot done with no students pounding at my door in my office. I'm like, this is great. I just log off Zoom and they're gone. But at the end, it's so great because about 2 or 3 months after they graduate, you get this email or this messenger, and they're like, I didn't know why you did this when you were teaching, or why we had to go through this, or why even though I told them, they're like, now I get it, and to me, that's the satisfaction, the growth. And I love to tell my story, and I love to tell them, look, I was divorced in hygiene school. I went through all the personal stuff, but just their coping skills and not to mention the financial burden. It's like, they are truly our children for 2 years. They just are. And I want to be able to push them forward and to grow. And I want to grow our profession so that we can grow these students, because ultimately one day we'll all be retired, and it's going to be up to them to follow in our footsteps.
Love that. So as a final message for this podcast, any words of encouragement to the students going through this and that will be coming back after?
So I'm going to give the same word that I told my students. The word that I told them to focus on is grace. And the reason for that is there are going to be a ton of feelings they're going to be feeling. They're going to be feeling angry. They're going to be feeling scared. They're going to be very uncertain of what the future is going to hold for them. They may have some periods of joy where they get very close to where they think they're about to graduate. And something like this is happening. And I encourage them to feel all of those feelings, every last bit one of them, and not try to push them down, and understand that those feelings are human, and it's okay to be scared, but to understand that they're not on this journey alone. They have their classmates, they have their faculty that they can lean on, and just know that at the end of all of this, we'll get a chance to celebrate, and we'll get a chance to all enjoy the fruits of our labor. So I just want them to understand that those feelings are completely normal. Feel all of them, take breaks when necessary, and keep pushing through.
Can I get an amen?
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Shelley Brown, who's one of my colleagues at Hygiene Edge, she wrote a poem based on Dr. Seuss's "Oh, the Places You'll Go." And hopefully you guys will get a chance to listen to it. But the nitty gritty of what that is this is not the end. Oh, the places you'll go. The future of dental hygiene is bright. We have things to fight for. We have things to change, and we are committed to that. You have an incredible group of professionals around you. Look for the helpers, as my favorite Mr. Rogers would say. Look for the people who are looking for solutions. Look at that when you're feeling discouraged by whatever news feed you're looking at. Look for the bright spots of grace, the bright spots of future, and it's gonna be awesome.
That's great.
The word for my students was one, flexibility, because there is going to be a lot of change and there's so much unknown. And along with growth mindset, grit. They have fought and clawed their way through 2 years of dental hygiene school, and nothing in life is easy. So they have already worked this hard, and I know that they're going to finish if they remain graceful and they remain flexible and they trust their faculty is here for you, and we are going to get you through.
Yeah, same. So in the spirit of what everyone said, I think that in our spirit of mindfulness also is just to acknowledge your feelings. Don't push them away, acknowledge them, feel them, and then just let them go. And part of being a dental hygienist is being able to be flexible. So this is a really good impromptu experience in that. So again, we're all here for you. We support you. We're available. If they just want to talk, I've had students who just want to talk. You know, it doesn't have to have anything to do with our classes, and just letting them know that we're here to support them.
Man, y'all are amazing. Thank you so much for your time. It would be an honor if I ever had the opportunity to work next to you guys as faculty and teaching our future profession. Thank you again so much. Is there a contact information that we can give out? So if anybody has questions, they can reach out to you? Is that, and it's in your bio, I think, too, right? Can I just put that in your bio? Okay, we'll do that. Everyone look at the show notes. It'll be there. Thank you guys so much. Stay healthy, for real.
For real.
Thank you.
So happy to meet you all.
Michelle.
Thank you for having us.
We hope you guys enjoyed this roundtable. Thank you to our guests for bringing all their advice and their research that they found for us. And again, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. You can always go to our website at tale2hygienist.com. We would love your feedback. And don't forget to share this episode and rate and review us on any of your listening apps.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, y'all.